Greetings, Public Health 400 students. This is Cotton, your Public Health Librarian. I'm sending out some videos addressing your individual group topics. And so these videos are going to be considerably shorter than the last one, but they're really going to focus entirely on your specific topic. If it feels like you're sort of being thrown into the deep end or you're just going kind of way too quickly in these videos, please go back and check the previous video that was sent over, as well as the how-to videos on the research guide. That can really give you some context on how these are working as searches. So without further ado, let's get started. All right. So this video is addressing violence prevention. Now, violence prevention is a very broad term and topic. And so, as with some of the other topics, I don't want to steer you into any direction. I'm focusing more on the public health and mental health databases here. But keep in mind, violence prevention can be addressed in a number of different databases, as well as just using one search. So I don't want you to think that this is the only way to do this. This is, however, the way I would recommend doing it because it is a little more effective that way. And what I'm going to do is, first I'll start in PubMed. And as always, I go to the mesh database, right? And I know that violence prevention is not a subject heading, so I'm just going to search for violence. I know, very broad. But remember, we're not looking for articles here. We're looking for subjects. And so this is actually kind of useful because if I scroll down, I see many types of violence. And so this is one of the first questions you want to be asking yourself is, what exactly do I want to write about? Obviously, preventing violence is key, but we see here there's a number of types of violence. And so it might be easier to focus on one or a few of these rather than violence in general because it is so broad. Now, if I do want to stick with violence as a topic, I can select violence. And we can see there's a lot of options here. I can also scroll down, and just like we saw on that last page, now this is listed as a hierarchy dealing with crime, and beneath that we see one where this is dealing with this violence. But in either case, we see all of those violence subtopics being represented once again right here. So it's good to know that if I search just for violence, I'm going to search all of these at the same time. It also lets me know that I really want to focus on, say, intimate partner violence. I don't need to go for the overall topic of violence. I can just select this right away. But let's stay on this tack right now, and we're just going to look at violence in general. Like I said, there's no subject for violence prevention. However, if I select violence and then the subheading of prevention and control, well, now we're talking about the prevention and control of violence. So that definitely works. So I can add that to my search builder and search. And we're still getting back 20,000 results. And if I narrow that down to the last 10 years, it's still 6,000. So one thing I should point out is that there's going to be a lot of literature on this, which is why I recommend focusing on either a specific type of violence or a specific demographic or population to focus your efforts on. Because as we can see, there's quite a bit of literature here. Now, I would also recommend looking into APA PsycInfo, which, if you can recall, is a mental health database right here. It's worth looking into there because we're talking about prevention of violence. And while there are physical ways to do that, a lot of this is going to be mental health and psychology-based research. So I think you're really, you might want to even start in APA PsycInfo, which is usually what I'd recommend for a topic like this. And here we are in APA PsycInfo. Now it's going to look a little bit differently than it used to. There was a change in the interface, but it's still going to operate the same. And we can always just type in keywords right here, and that should be fine. However, I can also use these limiters down below. I might select peer reviewed ahead of time, just so I get back results that are only peer reviewed. And then under subjects, I can go in here and start searching for anything I think might contain its own subject heading. So if I search for violence prevention, we see that comes right up. And if I select that button, that means now when I click add to search over here, that gets added to my search as a subject, as a descriptor. That's what the DE is. So now if I click search, I'm going to get back only articles that are tagged with violence prevention as a subject and are peer reviewed. And we get back 1,740 results, which is a lot, but it's also, remember, very broad. All we did was look for violence prevention. So we can also go back into these filters and take a look under major subject heading and see what else is being presented here. And we see things like school-based interventions, crime prevention, intimate partner violence. These are all going to be prominent topics within the subject of violence prevention. I can also click on 43 more and see that there are others: school violence, community services, child abuse. There are going to be specific topics within this that we can narrow down to in our results. So if that is what you want to do, please keep track of how you can view these results, because it's going to tell you exactly what the more prominent topics are within this subject. All right, so that's really what I have for today. Like I said, please feel free to reach out if you'd like more guidance. Please check out those earlier videos if it feels like this is moving way too quickly. And don't forget, I'm here on the Public Health Research Guide. You can always view the how-to videos on using the databases right here. And you can also contact me with my information right there. So thank you for your time. Good luck with your research, and let me know what I can do to help. Have a great day.